The morning sun peeked through the windows of a small cafe on the outskirts of Chicago. It was one of those places that blended into the neighborhood so well, most people didn't even notice it unless they were looking for a quick cup of coffee or a bite to eat. Inside, the air smelled of freshly brewed coffee and buttery pastries. The walls were painted a soft beige color, and framed pictures of local landmarks hung unevenly on them. Wooden tables and chairs filled the space, some occupied by regulars who had been coming here for years. Maya Carter moved quickly between the tables, balancing a tray loaded with steaming mugs of coffee and plates of scrambled eggs. Her feet hurt from standing all day, but she didn't let it show. She smiled at each customer, making sure everyone felt welcome. This was her routine every morning. For the past 3 years, this cafe had become her second home. It wasn't glamorous work, but it paid the bills, and more importantly, it allowed her to take care of her 6-year-old son, Liam. Liam was the reason Maya woke up early every day, even when she was tired. He was her whole world. His laughter could light up the darkest room, and his hugs made everything better. But raising him as a single mother wasn't easy. Her ex-husband, Jason, hadn't been part of their lives since Liam was 2, leaving Maya to handle everything on her own. Still, she never complained. She believed that hard work and kindness would eventually lead to something better. As she refilled sugar bowls and wiped down tables, Maya noticed an elderly man sitting by the window. He had arrived about 10 minutes ago, ordered a black coffee, and settled into his seat without saying much. He looked different from the usual crowd. Most mornings, the cafe attracted construction workers grabbing breakfast before heading to job sites or college students typing away on laptops. But this man seemed out of place. He wore a plain gray sweater and brown slacks, nothing fancy, but there was something about him that stood out. His hands trembled slightly as he turned the pages of an old newspaper spread across the table. His face was lined with age, but his eyes sparkled with intelligence. Maya guessed he was in his late 70s or early 80s. Despite his modest appearance, he carried himself with quiet confidence. As she watched him sip his coffee, she couldn't help but wonder what stories he held within him. People like him always seemed to have fascinating lives, full of experiences she could only dream of. "Another refill?" Maya asked, approaching his table with a fresh pot of coffee. The man looked up, startled for a moment, then smiled warmly. "Oh, no, thank you," he said, his voice deep and steady. "This is plenty." Maya nodded politely and stepped back, but something tugged at her heart. Maybe it was the way he sat there alone, surrounded by noise, yet completely isolated. Or maybe it was the fact that he reminded her of her late grandmother, who used to sit by the window in their old apartment, watching the world go by. Whatever it was, Maya felt compelled to do something small but meaningful. After finishing her rounds, she returned to the counter to check on orders. The cook slid a plate of pancakes toward her, and she grabbed it, glancing over her shoulder at the man again. An idea formed in her mind. Without thinking too much about it, she scribbled a note on a piece of paper and handed it to the cashier, along with enough money to cover the man's bill. "Can you add this to my tab?" she whispered. The cashier raised an eyebrow but nodded, knowing better than to question Maya's generosity. Once the receipt was printed, Maya walked over to the man's table and placed it gently next to his coffee cup. She didn't say a word, hoping he wouldn't notice her lingering presence. Then, with a final glance, she turned and walked away. It wasn't until later that she realized she hadn't even considered how much the coffee cost. To her, it was just a tiny act of kindness, a way to brighten someone's day. What she didn't know was that this simple gesture would set off a chain of events she couldn't have imagined. Back at the table, the elderly man picked up the receipt and read the note written in neat handwriting. "Thank you for being here today. Your coffee is on me." He looked around the cafe, searching for the person responsible, but Maya was already busy serving another table. With a thoughtful expression, he folded the note and tucked it into his pocket. There was something special about this place, and about the young woman who worked here. Little did Maya know, this man wasn't just any ordinary customer. His name was George Whitaker, and though he appeared unassuming, he was one of the wealthiest individuals in the country. Years ago, he had built a business empire from scratch, earning billions along the way. Yet despite his success, He often found himself yearning for simpler times. Today, in this little cafe, he had encountered something rare: genuine kindness. As the morning wore on, Maya continued with her duties, unaware of the impact her actions had made. She joked with the regulars, cleaned up spills, and kept an eye on the clock, counting down the hours until her shift ended. When lunchtime finally came, she clocked out and headed home, eager to spend the afternoon with Liam. Meanwhile, George finished his coffee and left the cafe, still thinking about the young waitress who had paid for his drink. He climbed into his car, which was parked discreetly around the corner, and pulled out a notebook from the passenger seat. Flipping to a blank page, he jotted down a few words. Kindness can change lives. By the time he reached his penthouse apartment downtown, he had already decided what he wanted to do next. Maya might not have known it yet, but her life was about to take a dramatic turn, all because of a single act of compassion in a quiet little cafe on a typical Chicago morning. And so, the story began. Not with grand gestures or sweeping declarations, but with a humble cup of coffee and the ripple effect of human connection. A week had passed since that quiet morning at the cafe. Life continued as usual for Maya Carter. Early shifts at work, grocery shopping on her way home, and evenings spent playing games or reading bedtime stories to her son, Liam. She hadn't thought much about the elderly man whose coffee she'd paid for. In fact, she'd almost forgotten about him entirely. Acts of kindness were second nature to Maya. They weren't something she dwelled on after doing them. But one afternoon, as Maya returned from work, she found a sleek, white envelope tucked into her mailbox. It stood out among the usual clutter of flyers and utility bills. Curious, she carried it inside and placed it on the kitchen counter while she unpacked her things. Liam was sitting cross-legged on the floor nearby, building towers out of colorful plastic blocks. He glanced up briefly when she came in, but quickly went back to his game. Finally settling down at the table, Maya picked up the envelope again. It felt heavier than it should have given its size. Turning it over, she noticed there was no return address, just her name written neatly in bold black ink, Maya Carter. Beneath it, in smaller print, was the word personal. Her heart skipped a beat. Who could this be from? Delivery services rarely brought anything personal to her doorstep. Most of her mail consisted of bills or advertisements. Carefully tearing open the envelope, Maya pulled out a single sheet of thick, creamy paper. Written in elegant cursive handwriting was a short note. Dear Miss Carter, thank you for your kindness last week. Such gestures are rare in today's world, and I am deeply grateful. If you find yourself free, I would like to invite you to visit my office downtown. Enclosed is my business card, should you wish to reach out. Sincerely, George Whitaker. Below, the signature was a small rectangle of glossy cardstock embossed with gold lettering. George Whitaker, Chairman, Whitaker Enterprises. Maya stared at the words, her mind racing. Whitaker Enterprises? That name sounded familiar. Somewhere in the back of her head, she recalled seeing it mentioned in news articles or advertisements. Wasn't it some big corporation? Confusion washed over her. What did this mean? Why would someone so important write to her? And why now? She read the note again, trying to make sense of it. Surely paying for a stranger's coffee wasn't enough to warrant such attention. Maybe it was a mistake. Perhaps the letter was meant for someone else. Liam, sensing his mother's distraction, walked over and tugged at her sleeve. "What's that, Mommy?" he asked, pointing to the business card. "It's just a letter," Maya replied distractedly. She forced a smile and ruffled his hair. "Nothing to worry about." Later that evening, after putting Liam to bed, Maya sat alone in the dimly lit living room staring at the business card. Her thoughts swirled with questions. Should she respond? Did she even want to? Something about the situation felt off. Wealthy businessmen didn't usually go out of their way to thank random waitresses, at least not in her experience. The next day, during her lunch break at the cafe, Maya decided to share the letter with her best friend, Nicole. They often met up for quick chats whenever their schedules allowed. Nicole worked part-time at a bookstore across the street and always seemed to know what to say when Maya needed advice. So, let me get this straight, Nicole said, leaning forward in her chair. This rich guy, you know, the one who owns some huge company, wants to meet you because you bought his coffee? Maya nodded, feeling slightly embarrassed. Yeah, I guess so, but I don't understand why. It's not like I did anything special. Nicole raised an eyebrow. Are you kidding? You literally brightened his day. Maybe he's lonely or something. People like him probably don't get treated like normal humans very often. But still, Maya hesitated. What if it's some kind of scam? Or worse, what if he expects something from me? Nicole shrugged. Then you tell him thanks, but no thanks. Honestly, though, I think you should check it out. Worst case scenario, you waste an hour of your time. Best case, who knows? Maybe he'll offer you a job or something. That last comment made Maya laugh. Yeah, right. Like he'd hire me. You never know, Nicole teased, nudging her arm. Stranger things have happened. Despite her doubts. Maya couldn't shake the idea from her mind. Over the next few days, she debated whether to take Nicole's advice. Finally, curiosity got the better of her. On a slow Friday evening, she mustered the courage to call the number listed on the business card. To her surprise, a polite assistant answered immediately and arranged a meeting for the following Monday morning. When Monday arrived, Maya dressed carefully, choosing a pair of dark slacks and a crisp blouse she saved for church or parent-teacher conferences. She left Liam with a neighbor and took the bus downtown, clutching the business card tightly in her hand. As the cityscape unfolded before her, she marveled at how different it felt from her neighborhood. Skyscrapers loomed overhead, their windows reflecting the pale autumn sunlight. Pedestrians hurried along the sidewalks, briefcases swinging at their sides. When she reached the towering glass building bearing the Whitaker Enterprises logo, her nerves kicked into high gear. Stepping inside, she was greeted by a spacious lobby with polished marble floors and sleek leather chairs. A security guard directed her to the elevator, where she pressed the button for the top floor. The doors opened to reveal a luxurious reception area. Everything gleamed. Chandeliers hung from the ceiling, abstract art adorned the walls, and potted plants added a touch of greenery. Behind a curved desk sat a young woman with a headset, typing rapidly on a computer. Hi, Maya said, approaching cautiously. I'm here to see Mr. Whitaker. The receptionist smiled warmly. Of course, Miss Carter, please have a seat. He'll be with you shortly. As Maya waited, she tried to calm her racing thoughts. This whole situation felt surreal. What could George Whitaker possibly want with her? Before she could dwell too long on the question, a door opened, and a familiar figure appeared. It was him, the elderly man from the cafe. He wore a tailored suit this time, but his demeanor remained unchanged. His eyes softened when he saw her, and he extended a hand. Miss Carter, he said warmly. Thank you for coming. Maya shook his hand, feeling both intimidated and oddly comforted by his presence. Thank you for inviting me, Mr. Whitaker. He gestured toward his office. Please come in. We have much to discuss. Inside, the room was surprisingly understated compared to the rest of the building. Bookshelves lined the walls filled with volumes on history, economics, and philosophy. A large oak desk stood in the center, covered with papers and photographs. One photo caught Maya's eye. It showed a younger George standing beside a woman, and two children all smiling broadly. I owe you an explanation, George began, motioning for her to sit. Your act of kindness last week touched me more than I can express. These days, people rarely do things without expecting something in return. But you reminded me of simpler times when generosity came naturally. Maya shifted uncomfortably in her seat. I didn't think much of it, honestly, just a small thing. To you, perhaps, George said with a chuckle. But to me, it meant the world. You see, I built my career on hard work and determination. But somewhere along the way, I lost sight of the values that mattered most. Meeting you has reignited something in me. He paused, studying her face. Which brings me to why I asked you here. I believe people like you, people with integrity and compassion, are exactly what this world needs more of. I'd like to offer you an opportunity to join my team. Not because I pity you or feel obligated, but because I see potential in you. Maya blinked, stunned. Join your team? Doing what? George leaned back in his chair, folding his hands. Together. Whitaker Enterprises has a philanthropy division dedicated to helping underserved communities. I think you'd excel there. Of course, we'll provide training and support. All I ask is that you bring your authenticity and dedication to the role. For a moment, Maya was speechless. This was beyond anything she'd ever imagined for herself. Yet, deep down, she knew she couldn't turn away from such an extraordinary chance. Taking a deep breath, she looked George in the eye. If you truly believe in me, she said softly, then I'd be honored to try. George smiled, his eyes twinkling with approval. Excellent. Welcome aboard, Miss Carter. And just like that, Maya's life began to change in ways she could never have predicted. Maya's first day at Whitaker Enterprises felt like stepping into another world. She arrived early, clutching her bag tightly as she stepped off the elevator onto the philanthropy division floor. The office was nothing like the cafe where she'd spent so many years. Everything gleamed. Polished floors, shiny glass walls, and rows of neatly organized desks. Employees moved around with purpose, their faces serious, but not unkind. It was clear this wasn't just any job. It was a place where people worked together to make a difference. A friendly assistant greeted her at the entrance and led her to an orientation room. There she met Rachel Monroe, the division manager, who would be overseeing her training. Rachel was in her mid-30s, dressed sharply in a navy blue suit, and carried herself with confidence. She shook Maya's hand firmly and gave her a warm smile. Welcome aboard, Maya, Rachel said. We're thrilled to have you here. I know you might feel out of your element at first, but don't worry. We'll guide you every step of the way. Maya nodded nervously, still trying to process how quickly her life had changed. Just weeks ago, she'd been serving coffee and juggling bills. Now she was sitting in a high-rise office building, preparing to help run charitable programs that could impact thousands of lives. It was overwhelming, but also exhilarating. Over the next few days, Maya learned about the Foundation's mission, helping underserved communities through education, healthcare, and affordable housing initiatives. She attended meetings, reviewed proposals, and shadowed senior staff members. At first, she struggled to keep up with the technical terms and complex processes, but Rachel assured her that everyone started somewhere, and patience was key. Despite the challenges, Maya found herself drawn to the work. Every project she reviewed told a story, a community fighting for better schools, families seeking safe homes, children dreaming of brighter futures. These stories resonated deeply with her own experiences growing up in a struggling neighborhood. For the first time, she felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. But not everyone welcomed her arrival with open arms. Some of her co-workers whispered behind her back, questioning why someone without formal qualifications had been hired. One afternoon, as Maya sat at her desk reviewing grant applications, she overheard two colleagues talking nearby. She must have done something to impress George, one of them muttered under her breath. I mean, come on, how does someone go from waitress to working here overnight? The other laughed dryly. Maybe she's got connections we don't know about. Maya pretended not to hear, focusing intently on her screen. She knew gossip came with any workplace, but it stung nonetheless. She reminded herself why she was here, not to prove anything to others, but to create opportunities for those who needed them most. Her son, Liam, noticed the long hours she put in too. One evening, as they ate dinner together, he frowned and asked, Mommy, are you too tired to play tonight? Maya set down her fork and reached across the table to take his hand. No, sweetie. Mommy's just learning new things at work. It's hard sometimes, but I promise I'll always make time for you. Liam smiled, satisfied with her answer, but Maya couldn't shake the guilt. Balancing motherhood and her new role was proving more difficult than she'd anticipated. Jason, Liam's father, noticed the change as well. He showed up unexpectedly one weekend, claiming he wanted to spend more time with his son. "I'm not saying you can't handle things," Jason said during their tense conversation in Maya's living room. "But maybe Liam needs more stability than what you're giving him right now." His words cut deep, even though Maya knew he didn't fully understand her situation. Still, she refused to let anyone undermine her efforts. If anything, his criticism fueled her determination to succeed, for Liam's sake as much as her own. Meanwhile, George Whitaker continued to support Maya from afar. Though he was rarely present in the office due to his responsibilities as chairman, he checked in periodically to see how she was adjusting. During one of these conversations, he offered some advice that stayed with her. "People will doubt you," he said gently. "They'll question your abilities because you didn't follow the traditional path. But remember this: success isn't about where you start. It's about how far you're willing to go. Trust yourself, Maya. You've already shown me you have what it takes." His words gave her strength. Slowly but surely, Maya began to find her footing. She started contributing ideas during team meetings, suggesting creative solutions based on her first-hand knowledge of struggling communities. Her suggestions caught Rachel's attention, earning her praise and respect among her peers. One project in particular stood out. The foundation was planning to launch a new initiative aimed at providing free after-school tutoring for low-income students. Maya volunteered to lead the effort, drawing inspiration from her own childhood when teachers had gone above and beyond to help her succeed. With Rachel's approval, she dove headfirst into the planning stages, researching potential partners, drafting budgets, and reaching out to local schools. As the weeks passed, Maya's confidence grew. She no longer felt like an outsider looking in. Instead, she became part of the team. Her kindness and genuine passion for helping others earned her allies within the organization. Even those who had initially doubted her began to recognize her value. By the end of her third month at Whitaker Enterprises, Maya had transformed, not just professionally, but personally. She walked taller, spoke with authority, and approached challenges with resilience. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to dream bigger than survival. And though she still faced obstacles, balancing work and family, dealing with occasional skepticism, she knew she was capable of overcoming them. One evening, as she packed up her things to leave the office, Rachel stopped by her desk. "You're doing great, Maya," she said sincerely. "George was right about you. You're going to do incredible things here." Maya smiled, feeling a surge of pride. "Thank you. That means a lot." As she walked home beneath the glowing city lights, Maya reflected on how far she'd come. Life hadn't been easy, but every challenge had prepared her for this moment. She thought about the elderly man whose coffee she'd paid for all those months ago, the man who had unknowingly opened doors she never dreamed existed. She didn't realize it yet, but her journey was only beginning. Maya's role at Whitaker Enterprises continued to evolve, and with each passing week, she grew more confident in her abilities. Her leadership of the after-school tutoring initiative had been a success, earning praise not only from Rachel Monroe, but also from George Whitaker himself. The program provided free tutoring to hundreds of students across underserved neighborhoods in Chicago, giving them access to resources they desperately needed. Parents thanked Maya personally, sharing stories of how their children were thriving academically for the first time. But success didn't come without challenges. As Maya gained recognition within the company, she also faced increasing scrutiny from some of her colleagues. Rachel had warned her that jealousy often accompanied achievement, especially when someone rose quickly through unconventional means. Sure enough, whispers followed Maya wherever she went. Some co-workers accused her of receiving preferential treatment because of George's admiration for her. Others dismissed her ideas during meetings, claiming she lacked the experience to contribute meaningfully. One person who seemed particularly hostile was Rachel's assistant, Claire Dawson. Claire was ambitious and eager to climb the corporate ladder, and she viewed Maya as a threat to her own advancement. Whenever Maya proposed new projects or suggested changes, Claire would roll her eyes or make sarcastic comments under her breath. Though Maya tried to ignore these jabs, they still hurt. She knew proving herself wouldn't be easy, but she hadn't expected resistance from within her own team. At home, balancing work and motherhood became increasingly difficult. Liam noticed his mom's long hours and occasional stress. One evening, as they sat together on the couch watching cartoons, he looked up at her with wide eyes and asked, "Mommy, are you happy?" The question caught Maya off guard. She paused the TV and pulled him close. "Of course I'm happy, sweetie," she said softly. "Why do you ask?" Liam shrugged. "You seem tired all the time." Maya sighed, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "I am tired sometimes, but it's because I'm working hard to make things better, for us and for other families like ours. Does that make sense?" He nodded slowly, though she could tell he didn't fully understand. Still, his innocent concern reminded her why she kept pushing forward. Every sacrifice she made was for him, for a future where he wouldn't have to struggle the way she had. Her ex-husband, Jason, added another layer of complication. After showing up unexpectedly weeks earlier, he now insisted on being more involved in Liam's life. While part of Maya appreciated his newfound interest, she couldn't help feeling suspicious. Jason had never been reliable before. Why start now? Their conversations often ended in arguments, leaving Maya frustrated and drained. Despite these obstacles, Maya refused to give up. She leaned on the support of those who believed in her, including Nicole, her best friend, and George, who continued to mentor her. During one of their weekly check-ins, George shared wisdom that helped her navigate the growing tension at work. "People will always find reasons to doubt you," he told her. "It's human nature. But remember, true leaders don't focus on the noise, they focus on the impact they're making. Keep your head high, Maya, you're doing remarkable work." His words resonated deeply. Maya realized she couldn't control what others thought of her, but she could control how she responded. Instead of letting negativity consume her, she channeled her energy into her projects. She worked tirelessly to ensure the tutoring program ran smoothly, visiting schools to meet with teachers and students. She even organized workshops for parents, teaching them strategies to support their children's education at home. Her dedication began to pay off. News of the program's success spread beyond Chicago, attracting attention from national media outlets. Reporters contacted Whitaker Enterprises, eager to learn more about the initiative and its leader. When Rachel informed Maya that she'd been invited to speak at an upcoming charity gala hosted by the foundation, Maya initially panicked. "I can't do that," she protested. "I've never spoken in front of a big crowd before." Rachel placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You'll be fine. Just talk about what you know, your experiences, your passion for helping others. People will listen because they see how much this means to you." With Rachel's encouragement, Maya agreed to give it a try. In the days leading up to the event, she practiced relentlessly, rehearsing her speech in front of the mirror and reciting key points aloud to Liam, who cheered her on enthusiastically. The night of the gala arrived, and Maya stood backstage, clutching her notes tightly. The ballroom buzzed with excitement as guests mingled and sipped champagne. Dressed in a modest navy blue dress, Maya felt out of place among the elegantly dressed attendees. But when George approached her with a proud smile, she felt a surge of confidence. "You've got this," he whispered before stepping aside to let her take the stage. As Maya walked to the podium, the room fell silent. She took a deep breath and began speaking, her voice steady despite her nerves. She talked about her childhood, growing up in a neighborhood where opportunities were scarce. She shared how her grandmother's kindness inspired her to help others, even in small ways. And she spoke passionately about the importance of investing in education, emphasizing that every child deserved a chance to succeed. By the time she finished, the audience erupted into applause. Many attendees wiped tears from their eyes, moved by her sincerity and determination. Afterward, several people approached her to congratulate her on her speech and express interest in supporting the foundation's work. That night marked a turning point for Maya. Not only had she proven to herself that she could rise above criticism and fear, But she had also solidified her reputation as a leader within the organization. Her colleagues, including Claire, begrudgingly acknowledged her contributions. Even Rachel admitted she'd underestimated Maya's potential. Over the following weeks, Maya threw herself into expanding the foundation's reach. She collaborated with local businesses to secure additional funding for the tutoring program and partnered with universities to recruit volunteer tutors. Her efforts earned her a promotion to project manager, overseeing multiple initiatives aimed at improving educational outcomes for disadvantaged youth. Through it all, Maya remained grounded. She remembered the lessons her grandmother taught her: kindness, humility, and perseverance. These values guided her decisions and shaped her interactions with others. Though challenges still arose, she faced them with resilience, knowing she wasn't alone. One evening, as she tucked Liam into bed, he looked up at her with a sleepy smile. "Mommy, I'm proud of you," he murmured. Tears welled in Maya's eyes as she kissed his forehead. "Thank you, baby. That means everything to me." In that moment, Maya realized something profound. Her journey wasn't just about personal success. It was about creating a legacy of hope and opportunity for future generations. And no matter what lay ahead, she was ready to face it head-on. Months had passed since Maya's promotion to project manager at Whitaker Enterprises. Her life had transformed in ways she could never have imagined. She was no longer just a waitress struggling to make ends meet. She was now a respected leader within one of the most influential philanthropic organizations in the country. Under her guidance, the foundation launched several successful programs aimed at improving education, healthcare, and housing for underserved communities. Her name began appearing in newspapers and magazines, highlighting her journey from humble beginnings to becoming a symbol of hope and resilience. Despite her growing success, Maya remained grounded. She still lived in the same modest apartment, drove the same old car, and prioritized spending time with Liam over attending glamorous events. But even she couldn't deny that her newfound responsibilities came with challenges, and not just professional ones. Balancing work and motherhood became increasingly difficult as her projects demanded more of her time. Some nights she'd arrive home exhausted, only to find Liam already asleep. Though he never complained, she could see the longing in his eyes when he wished for more moments together. Her relationship with Jason also remained complicated. He continued to insist on being more involved in Liam's life, showing up unexpectedly or calling at odd hours. While Maya appreciated his efforts, she couldn't shake the feeling that his sudden interest stemmed from guilt rather than genuine care. Their conversations often ended in arguments, leaving her frustrated and drained. Amid these personal struggles, George Whitaker remained a steady source of support. He admired Maya's dedication and integrity, qualities he believed were rare in today's world. Though their interactions were infrequent due to his busy schedule, they maintained a close mentor-mentee relationship. George often invited her to private dinners at his penthouse apartment, where they discussed everything from business strategies to life lessons. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the Chicago skyline in hues of orange and pink, George hosted one such dinner for Maya. The dining room was bathed in soft candlelight, creating an atmosphere of warmth and intimacy. As they enjoyed a meal prepared by George's personal chef, the conversation turned reflective. "You've accomplished so much in such a short time," George said, raising his glass in a toast. "I'm proud of you, Maya." She smiled, touched by his words. "Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. I wouldn't be here without your belief in me." George waved his hand dismissively. "Call me George, please, and don't sell yourself short. You've earned every bit of this success through hard work and determination." Maya hesitated before speaking again. There was something she'd been wanting to ask him but hadn't found the courage until now. "George, why did you choose me? Out of everyone, why did you decide to give me this opportunity?" He leaned back in his chair, his gaze thoughtful. For a moment he seemed lost in memory. Then he spoke, his voice tinged with nostalgia. "When I was younger, I was a lot like you, working tirelessly to provide for my family, dreaming of a better future. But somewhere along the way, I lost sight of what truly mattered. Success brought wealth, but it also isolated me. I surrounded myself with people who wanted something from me, not because they cared about me. Over time, I forgot what it felt like to connect with others genuinely. He paused, looking directly at Maya. Then I met you. Your act of kindness reminded me of the values I once held dear, values I thought I'd lost forever. In that moment, I saw myself in you, someone driven by compassion and purpose, willing to help others without expecting anything in return. That's why I chose you, Maya, because I believe you can inspire change, not just in our organization, but in the world. Tears welled in Maya's eyes as she absorbed his words. She had always assumed George's decision was based purely on gratitude, but hearing him speak about his own journey made her realize how deeply their lives were intertwined. They were kindred spirits, separated by decades but united by a shared desire to make a difference. As the evening wore on, George revealed another piece of information that left Maya stunned. "There's something else I need to tell you," he said, his tone serious. "I'll be stepping down as chairman of Whitaker Enterprises soon." Maya's eyes widened in shock. "Stepping down? Why?" "I'm getting older, Maya. It's time for me to pass the torch, to focus on the things that matter most before it's too late. I've spent years building this company, but legacy isn't about titles or wealth. It's about leaving the world a better place than you found it." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded document, sliding it across the table toward her. "This is my plan for the foundation moving forward. I want someone trustworthy to take over certain aspects of its operations. Someone who embodies the values I hold dear. Someone like you." Maya stared at the document, her heart racing. Was he suggesting what she thought he was? "Are you saying you want me to lead the foundation?" George nodded slowly. "Not immediately. Of course, you'll need time to prepare and I'll guide you through the transition. But yes, I believe you're capable of taking on this responsibility. What do you say, Maya? Are you ready to step into this role?" For a moment, Maya couldn't speak. The weight of his proposal overwhelmed her. Leading the foundation would mean stepping into a position of immense power and influence, a role she had never dreamed of holding. Could she handle it? Did she deserve it? Finally, she took a deep breath and looked George in the eye. "I'm honored that you trust me enough to consider me for this, but leading the foundation is a huge responsibility. I'll need your support every step of the way." George smiled warmly. "You'll have it. And remember, leadership isn't about knowing all the answers. It's about asking the right questions and surrounding yourself with good people. Trust your instincts, Maya. You've already proven you have what it takes." The rest of the evening passed in a blur. Maya left George's apartment feeling both exhilarated and anxious. The road ahead would undoubtedly be challenging, but she knew she couldn't turn away from such an extraordinary opportunity. This wasn't just about her. It was about continuing the work she believed in, helping others rise above their circumstances, just as she had. When she returned home, Liam was waiting up for her, clutching a book he wanted her to read. Seeing his eager face melted away some of her tension. As she tucked him into bed and kissed his forehead, she whispered, "We're going to do amazing things, baby. Just wait and see." In that moment, Maya realized that her journey wasn't just about achieving personal success. It was about creating opportunities for others to thrive. With George's guidance and her unwavering determination, she was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. The months following George's announcement flew by in a whirlwind of preparation and transformation. Maya threw herself into learning everything she could about leading the foundation, determined to live up to George's expectations. With his guidance, she attended leadership workshops, met with philanthropists from around the world, and studied successful charitable models. Though the workload was immense, Maya approached each task with focus and determination, knowing that this opportunity would allow her to create lasting change. As George stepped back from his role as chairman of Whitaker Enterprises, he ensured a smooth transition for Maya within the foundation. He introduced her to key stakeholders, shared insights into managing large-scale initiatives, and encouraged her to trust her instincts. His faith in her never wavered, and his mentorship gave her the confidence to take bold steps forward. One of Maya's first major decisions as the incoming leader of the foundation was to expand its reach beyond Chicago. She envisioned creating programs that would benefit underserved communities nationwide. Drawing inspiration from her own experiences, she proposed launching mobile education units equipped with technology and resources to bring learning opportunities directly to rural areas. The idea was ambitious, but with George's backing, it quickly gained traction. Her colleagues noticed the shift in her demeanor. Gone was the hesitant waitress who had once doubted her place in the corporate world. In her stead stood a poised and confident leader who inspired those around her. Even Claire Dawson, who had initially been critical of Maya, began to respect her dedication and vision. During one team meeting, Claire surprised everyone by publicly acknowledging Maya's contributions. "You've changed the way we think about our work," Claire admitted. "I used to question your presence here, but now I see how much you've accomplished. You've earned your place." Maya accepted the compliment graciously, recognizing that forgiveness and collaboration were essential to achieving her goals. Slowly but surely, she built a cohesive team united by a shared mission to uplift others through kindness and innovation. Meanwhile, her personal life continued to evolve. Liam thrived under his mother's success, benefiting from the stability and opportunities it brought. Jason remained a part of his life, though their co-parenting relationship remained complicated. Maya focused on ensuring Liam felt loved and supported, no matter the challenges she faced. Finally, the day arrived when Maya officially assumed her role as the head of the Whitaker Foundation. To celebrate the occasion, George hosted a lavish charity gala at a luxurious hotel in downtown Chicago. The event attracted hundreds of guests, including politicians, business leaders, and community activists. As Maya walked into the ballroom alongside George, she was struck by the magnitude of what she had achieved. The evening began with speeches honoring George's legacy and introducing Maya as the foundation's new leader. When it was her turn to speak, Maya stepped onto the stage, her heart pounding. Looking out at the sea of faces, she felt a surge of emotion. This moment wasn't just about her. It was about every person whose life the foundation touched. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. "When I first met George Whitaker, I had no idea how profoundly he would change my life. He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, a belief that ordinary people can achieve extraordinary things." She paused, glancing at George, who smiled warmly from his seat. "But this isn't just my story. It's the story of countless individuals who dream of a better future, for themselves, for their families, for their communities. That's why I'm here today, to continue George's legacy of kindness and compassion. Together we will build brighter futures for those who need it most." The crowd erupted into applause, many rising to their feet. Tears streamed down Maya's cheeks as she realized how far she'd come, from serving coffee in a small cafe to standing on stage as the leader of a powerful organization. After her speech, George joined her at the podium to present her with a ceremonial plaque commemorating her appointment. As cameras flashed and cheers echoed through the room, Maya knew this was only the beginning. In the weeks that followed, Maya wasted no time implementing her plans. Under her leadership, the foundation launched groundbreaking initiatives aimed at addressing systemic issues like poverty, inequality, and lack of access to education. Her mobile education units rolled out across the country, providing children in remote areas with tools to succeed. She partnered with local governments, businesses, and nonprofits to amplify their impact, proving that collaboration could drive meaningful change. Her efforts did not go unnoticed. National media outlets hailed her as a trailblazer, highlighting her journey from humble beginnings to becoming one of the most influential figures in philanthropy. Yet despite the accolades, Maya remained humble. She often reminded herself and others that true success wasn't measured by titles or wealth, but by the lives she touched. One afternoon, as she sat in her office overlooking the city, Maya reflected on everything that had led her to this point. She thought about the elderly man who had sipped black coffee in a quiet cafe, unaware of the ripple effect his encounter with her would create. She thought about her late grandmother, whose lessons of kindness and perseverance had guided her throughout her life. And she thought about Liam, whose laughter and love kept her grounded amidst the chaos. A soft knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. It was George, leaning on his cane as he entered the room. He looked older now, his movements slower, but his eyes still sparkled with wisdom. "How are you holding up?" he asked, taking a seat across from her. Maya smiled. "I'm doing well, thanks to you. I couldn't have done any of this without your support." George shook his head. "You give me too much credit. This is your achievement, Maya. You've already changed my life, and now you're changing the world." His words brought tears to her eyes. "I hope I can make you proud." "You already have," he replied softly. "Now go out there and keep making a difference." With that, George stood and left the room, leaving Maya alone with her thoughts. As she gazed out the window at the bustling city below, she felt a deep sense of purpose. Her journey had been long and challenging, but it had also been rewarding, in ways she never imagined. She knew there would be more obstacles ahead, but she was ready to face them head-on. For Maya Carter, this was more than a job. It was a calling. And as she embraced her role as a leader, advocate, and changemaker, she vowed to never forget where she came from. Because sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness could lead to the greatest transformations. And so, Maya's story continued. Not as a tale of rags to riches, but as a testament to the power of compassion, resilience, and belief in oneself. Through her efforts, she proved that anyone, regardless of background, could rise above adversity and make the world a better place. In the end, it wasn't just about Maya or George. It was about the countless lives they touched together. And that, Maya realized, was the true measure of success.